with this process, you get them all kind of set up by strand, and then it's really important to choose a really rich standard to be your central standard. So this is the one that I'm definitely summatively assessing, I'm going to focus on in the course of the unit. We're going to challenge you with this particular activity today to not pick a narrative standard as your focus. Okay? And it's hard to do because you're like, oh, narrative's in my head right now. I'm going to do a narrative unit. Don't do that. Try not to do that. You can if you want to, but try not to. So you probably wouldn't pick like a language #1 standard. Demonstrate command of the conventions of standard English grammar and usage when speaking or writing. Apply the understanding that usage is a matter of convention, can change over time, and is sometimes contested. That's probably not going to be enough meat for an entire unit. Okay, those languages, unless I was doing a grammar unit, and who wants to do that, right? So, when I was looking through these, I thought, okay, I teach advanced placement, literature, and composition. So we really are focused on reading and writing. So I wanted to start with a good, rich reading standard. So I picked reading literature #5. Analyze how an author's choices concerning how to structure specific parts of a text, for example, the choice of where to begin or end a story, the choice to provide a comedic or tragic resolution, contribute to its overall structure and meaning as well as aesthetic impact. I thought this would be a good central standard for a couple of reasons. One, I teach literature, so it's really important to the kinds of reading that they do all year long. Secondly, the AP exam, a lot of times, and I know I'm not supposed to be thinking about the test, but I kind of did, a lot of times they'll throw in like comedy, and kids do not know how to analyze comedy. Like it completely shuts them down. So I thought, well, I could pull that in, that comedic or tragic resolution. I think it's really conducive to a good essential question because choices, that's going to get me somewhere, that idea of choices. So that's my central standard. Then I was looking at the reading informational text standards, and I thought, you know, no matter what I teach this year, what I want to make sure I'm doing is pulling in informational texts that help kids understand the dense text that we read in AP. So I picked the reading informational #7. Integrate and evaluate multiple sources of information presented in different media or formats, visually or quantitatively, as well as in words, in order to address a question or solve a problem. Then there's writing, literature and composition. There's always going to be a writing piece, and I probably picked too many writing standards, but a lot of them, to me, go together. And of course, and so I've gotten like so much analysis all the time. I want to pull narrative back in. I want kids making choices when they write, so that ties back to my central standard. So that was the writing that I thought I would have them do. And again, the best way to demonstrate how authors make choices is to have the kids actually make some choices as writers. And then these seem to just go with these standards. #4, produce clear and coherent writing. There's always a writing product at the end. Samples of that later today. And then 6, use technology, including the internet, to produce, publish, and update individual or shared writing products. I thought whatever I have them do, probably can publish or find a way to have an authentic audience for. And then 7, conduct short as well as more sustained research projects to answer a question or solve a problem. So that kind of tied back to that standard about the document-based inquiry, reading informational text. So I figured they had to do that one, and then I picked 10. Again, I probably should have picked only 2 or 3, but try to make sure you have one from each strand that you're really going to focus on. And 8 to 10 is probably a good number for a unit without getting too overwhelmed with, oh, I forgot what standards I was looking at and addressing. Write routinely over extended time frames, time for research, reflection, and revision, and shorter time frames. So I was thinking we'll be doing a variety of different kinds of writing. Then speaking and listening, my classroom is full of that. And so the first one, initiate and participate effectively in a range of collaborative discussions. We do a lot of Socratic seminars, think pair shares. I want them to be talking through their ideas before they actually do something with them. But we also have to be really careful about those introverted kids. I was watching a TED Talk, The Power of the Introvert, if you have time. It's a really good one. And she was talking about how kind of schools are messing some things up because we're becoming so collaborative that some of those kids are kind of the mavericks who like to work by themselves and work independently. That's stifling them. And group dynamics, you know that the loudest person in the group is who everybody's going to tend to agree with. So, and then there's all that research about boys and girls and how, you know, who tends to dominate, who doesn't, that kind of thing. And I was always the person in the group that did all the work because I was worried about my grade and no one else was. So we got to keep that in mind. I've started to not get on kids as much who kind of just go off on their own and she used a lot of really good examples of people who do that, like Bill Gates. He happened to just be really successful. So we got to give that, kind of find room for that. Second standard, some oral component integrate multiple sources of information presented in diverse formats and media. So I thought whatever they write, maybe we could have a presentation of. And then number 3, evaluate a speaker's point of view, reasoning and use of evidence and rhetoric, assessing the stance, premises, links among ideas, word choice, points of emphasis, and tone used. I thought this tied back to that reading informational text because they're going to get all this information and they're going to probably have to decipher, is this being honest with me, like a political cartoon, like whose slant might this be? And then for language, a lot of these standards tie back to the idea of choice in writing. So I picked 3 and 5. 3 says apply knowledge of language to understand how language functions in different contexts, to make effective choices for meaning or style, and to comprehend more fully when reading or listening. So you got to make choices by the language that you pick, then that's a good one. And then 5, demonstrate understanding of figurative language, word relationships, and nuances in word meanings. So again, meaning, connotation, denotation, tone, those are all choices that a writer makes in their language. So those are the standards that I grouped together.